All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Court of the Rings on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. I am Lotro's community manager, Cordovan, and I'm going to be with you for the next hour, hanging out, having some fun, doing some Yule Festival. We have our our winter event has returned. Get my mic situated just a bit here. How's it going, everyone? How are you? We are nearing the end of the year, are we not? Yes, we are. And so we've got a lot going on in the world of Lotro and a lot going on kind of in the development team as we wrap up 2021 and start heading into 2022. We actually have yet one more release this year. We have a small patch set for next week, and I'm going to go through the early release notes, at least as they currently sit for that one here in just a little bit. Well, like I say, we'll talk a little bit about Yuletide. We could talk a little bit about the latest news. Whatever's on your mind as well, we'll make sure that we have some time set aside to do that here today. Otherwise, things are cooking along toward the end of the year. Probably the biggest headline here, I would say, is that we are getting close to actually publishing a smaller scope producer's letter. And that could be out by end of next week. We'd like to actually get it out by the end of 2021 here if we can. All that's left is really getting all the copy back and then getting it kind of finally staged, maybe a few little tweaks here and there. But it's pretty much ready to go, I think, once it gets back from translation. So the goal is to try to get a producer's letter out by the end of next week. And that's going to talk about the next quarter in particular. Like I say, it's a smaller scope producer's letter. And on top of that, it's not by Sev, but Reninia is going to be taking over quarterly producer duties and more of a content-focused letter. This is really just to let people know a little bit more about kind of, hey, what to expect in the next couple of months. And if everything works out, we should have that published by the end of next week. So that's probably the biggest piece of news. The second biggest piece of news is that we are working toward a small game patch, and this would be for next Tuesday. In particular, the intention is to bring in a new six-person instance called the Houses of Rest. That'll be in the Pit of Stonejaws. It'll be a new six-person instance added to Fate of Gundabad, available tiers 1 through 3. And that'll be in 31.1.1, which is set for next week. We'll see what day it lands on. Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. Couple more notes, though, I'm going to go through with the update 31.1.1 release notes, and I can't put them up on the screen here, sorry. So you're just going to have to hear my voice on this. But we are fixing an issue with the Brawler Rush improperly costing 2 points. That was supposed to be fixed in the most recent patch, but the change list didn't make it in, so that's going to get to be 1 point now. For the champions, some champion skills were incorrectly using crit chance modifiers rather than critical magnitude modifiers to increase the damage of their critical attacks. We fixed those errors for most player builds. This will result in an overall DPS increase from critical attacks. People who took advantage of that bug, maybe in particular, will not see an increase, but you'll be able to build to your new benefit, hopefully just fine. On Hunter, improved penetrating shots cooldown has been increased from 0 to 1 second. Sorry. We are going to have to add a cooldown basically to improved penetrating shot. Legendary items, starting up the next update, will be able to increase to item level 470. If your character has reached level 140, you'll be able to speak to a Forge Master and reforge your legendary items to access the new levels. And old LI blank names will now have sealed pre-pended to their names. This will help you identify what your old LI stuff is. While you can no longer identify that old LI stuff, you can still use it as a cosmetic item. So that's why we're going to be adding that sealed to that. Roving Threat LI blank vendors will now accept Figments of Splendor rather than tokens for these items. With the Yuletide Festival that just came out here, we did find a few bugs, so we're going to be taking care of that early next week. So the missions in Azanul Bazaar, Gundabad, and the Further Adventures, all of that will start counting toward the Yule Festival quest, a mission to bring good cheer. Sadly, it is not at the moment. The biggest stomach of them all will once again be a daily quest. Also, we're going to be giving you a single token if you at least finish the first table. So even if you don't really want to participate much, as long as you finish that first table, you'll at least get one token. Fate of Gundabad. Assault on Durstrak. Players will no longer get stuck in God and Shum's room. Instance quest for Denapuglok and Assault on Durstrak will now award item XP tokens. Denapuglok, Assault on Durstrak will now bestow on quests on tiers 4 and 5. Yeah, T4, 5 coming. And I will actually have a little bit more about that in just a bit, so hang on. The quest guide has been updated to correctly point to Zul Mazal for the epilogue endings and beginnings. Slow travel between Mergrind and Drengel now functions as intended. Slow travel to Felgut in the northern Welkin Lofts in Ibdek Buzru in the central Welkin Lofts from Gumachath now functions as intended. All travel routes from the War Room Stablemaster will now display swift travel. And Cloven Gap Gundabad quest Therakin's Baubles will not bestow until Gerja has moved to Bazin Manar. Bazin Manar? Players waiting to turn in can complete The Sky Has Fallen, and she will move to the proper location. So all this stuff's going to be in the release notes. Release notes will be next week. Patches next week. Gosh, I hope so. That's the plan anyway, as of today. And then a couple more notes. We're fixing a bug where the High Elf male was using the mounted version of the eating emote while standing. We are also reverting to the original, the High Elf horse riding animation. We had actually fixed a bug. So what's actually happening on the High Elf is it's, as someone inside of the team had said, well, that's clearly a bug. Well... So, it just so happens, though, that the High Elf has not really had above-the-waist proper animation while mounted since it was debuted. From an animator's perspective, from someone who is working on the game, you know, I'm not an animator, but from the animator's perspective, you know, people who were working on the game, they kind of saw it as a pretty ugly bug, and they wanted to fix it. The community, however... sees it as kind of a regal writing stance. And so when it finally got through sort of the end of the year, hey, let's take a few minutes to work on bugs and you know, knock out some of the things that have been sent my way that I just haven't had time to fix and what have you. In recent days, someone had taken that bug and fixed it so that the High Elf would have the proper writing animation. And that made it into this week's patch, right? But very quickly, once it got on Bull Roar just slightly before the patch without enough time to really respond to it, the community said, whoa, no, wait a second. We love the High Elf writing animation. Don't change it. Don't change it. And so we decided not to change it. But it got into this week's patch because there wasn't time to really pull a new build and what have you, but we are fixing it. So we're actually going back to the old High Elf riding animation, of which thou'st would prefer. Kind of neat, though. It's kind of actually a neat story. You don't see a lot of that necessarily happen, where it's such a case of bug-verse feature. And the High Elf riding animation's a really neat little case study in bug-verse feature. So, you know. Anyway, okay, one final note. That is, Elf and High Elf Rune Keepers will now use their correct idle animation when their rune satchel visibility is toggled on or off. But wait. I think I've got one more. If I can find it. Yes. So I need to add a note to the notes for next week, and I'm going to basically talk about it today, but it's kind of good because it really lays out a plan for our legendary servers here in the short term, and it's kind of a nice thing that I'm going to be adding to the release notes next week. But this really is hot off the presses, came through at very early this morning. So the legendary server Honor, we know because I've already announced it and everyone else has seen this, the level cap will go up to 120 on Wednesday 12/15, so next week. Legendary server Honor is going to be getting its level cap increase, opening access to the Grey Mountains, Vales of Anduin, and Shades in the Swamp. That's Honor. The legendary item maximum item level will increase to 365 when that happens on Honor. The legendary item maximum item level will then increase to 399 come January 19th of 2022. The Grey Mountains scaling instances will immediately be available through Tier 5. The leading the charge deeds for those instances will be available through January 18th. So now, one thing I do need to caution slightly is this. I need to clarify one thing is when I look at that end date, it's usually, as everyone knows, like 3 a.m. Eastern. My understanding based on that text would be that it would be 3 a.m. Eastern on January 19th that it would end. But I will have to double check and get back to you, so don't hold me too much. It could theoretically be 3 o'clock in the morning on the 18th that it shuts off as well, although I think what's intended is 3 a.m. on the 19th, but I'll make sure to clarify that by the time it actually goes live next week. Tier 3, where did I lead off? So, okay, the Anvil of Winterstith raid will be immediately available through Tier 2, with the Anvil raid Tier 2 leading the charge deed available to complete through January 18th, 2022. Same caveat I just said applies. Tier 3 of the raid will become available on January 5th, with the Anvil raid Tier 3 leading the charge deed available to complete through February 8th. Again, same caveat applies, 2022. The Depths of Kidzukala will be immediately available through Tier 2, increasing to Tier 5 on January 19th. The Kidzukala leading the charge deeds will be available to complete from January 19th through February 22nd, same caveat applies, of 2022. So there's a big old chunk of info, ain't it? I thought that was pretty good. That came through this morning, and I'm going to be adding that to the Update 31.1 release notes. But since I'm going through those notes now, I wanted to make sure I got that info out there, because there's a whole bunch of dates and times of questions that I've been hearing from people. So it's really good to be able to get a concrete answer on that stuff. Like I say, the only caveat I have is I believe through probably means it shuts off at 3 a.m. Eastern the next day, rather than the day of. That's usually what we use as a marketing term, at least. But I'm not 100% positive that that's what they use kind of internally. So I need to double check on that end date real quick before I go to it. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. The other, I guess, bits of news before I get too far ahead, we're already about 15 minutes into the show, is we do have the Yuletide Festival going on. So let me call up a page there as well. I realize this page is somewhat out of date. My hope is that in the new year, in the very near future, we're going to be updating our website. That at one point that was going to be live by now. We have a new website that I can take a look at behind the scenes. And now my brain is just thinking, can I give you a preview of the new website? Maybe I can do that next week. Maybe I'll take a little look at that, because I'm going to have to do it kind of like through a certain, because it's only in like kind of a QA state right now. But maybe for next week's show, I'll give you a quick look at the upcoming Lotro.com, because we're getting ready to do that. Now, I have spent hours in recent weeks populating that website with articles, both new and old, and I still have a huge amount of old. You know, one thing with Lotro being as veteran a game as it is that we have a lot of articles, and a lot of that stuff isn't really apropos to keep around. But one of the things I'm hoping to do, at least, here's my goal with the new Locher.com for January, I want to get as complete a state of in one place, properly, largely formatted, and hopefully accurate release notes for the new Locher.com in one place, so they can click a button and see the entirety of the game's release notes, whatever. I have never been all that comfortable with the fact that Locher uses the forums for its release notes for many years. That was a choice that was made back in the day, and due to expediency and some advantage of being able to have it archived. But I think as people know over the years, what if you wanted to go back to the old Locher.com release notes from, say, 2009? It can be a challenge. That challenge doesn't exist on the other game side, the DDO side, because we managed to, from the very start, insist that all of our release notes be posted onto DDO.com in a certain kind of state. And that state is pretty janky, let me be clear, 15 years later. But 15 years ago, it was a smart choice. Because what it means is that the community can reference our game releases essentially all the way through to the very start on the main DDO.com. And that's been a feature that's long been something I want to do with Locher.com. But so in update 27, finally, I sort of ripped the Band-Aid off and did get some flack on it from the community, probably even still to this day, but I stand by it, which is that I transferred all of Locher's release notes from 27 onward to Locher.com. By that point, I knew, as the community already knew, that we were at some point going to do a new Locher.com. So I was like, well, let's at least start today. Literally, let's start doing this right today, so that when it does come time to have a new website, we'll at least not have to redo all this work. And lo and behold, it has come to pass. Yes, so that is indeed what the case. So I'm pretty currently, as it stands for the new Locher.com, I am clear through about update 27, and then between now and when we go live, I'm working to populate as much of that old back stuff into Locher.com as I can in all three languages if available, and hopefully we'll be able to get some of that done. So there's going to be some work to do after we launch with Locher.com as well, but as much of this archival work I can get done ahead of time, I do intend to do so. All right, Yuletide Festival, that's going on. That kicked off. It runs through January 3rd. Ends 3 a.m. Eastern on January 4th, 2022. You know about the Yuletide Festival. You're going to see the Yuletide Festival new rewards for 2021. Got a whole bunch of good new rewards for 2021. So there we go. All right, before I actually get in game, let me take a moment to scroll through chat. I believe I've got all the news taken care of. Next week's patch, legendary server stuff, producer's letter. We're trending towards the end of the year, so pretty quickly things are going to start slowing down a little bit as people head out for the holidays in the United States. So the final couple weeks of December are going to be a little on the slow side, but we got a lot planned until then, and some good stuff to carry us through the holidays as well. So thank you. All right, let me go to chat. I'm going to start off on Twitch. Is it gauche to start asking questions before Cord has even begun? No, that's perfectly fine, assuming that I have been able to, so long as I've logged in by that point. It actually is kind of nice to see, even before I go live, what some of the questions are going to be. So, I don't mind. I don't mind that at all. Time to hit me with snowballs, yes. Producer letter this year, gasp. Well, so a lot of times the producer's letter has been a reflection of its schedule, right? So the calendar would, I think every business in general would love to have a nice, clean end of the year, start of the next year. But I think the reality is, especially in game development, when you're doing, say, game updates as late as mid-December, for example, you end up in a situation where you can often have not insignificant okay. You can find yourself in a situation where, you just got a lot going on, and you're not ready to announce because it's not 100% internal yourself yet, So, yeah. I'm not going to start with that one. I will probably end with that one. So, I try to be pretty lenient about the schedule, and I suggest that you are too. Because the reality is, you don't...
To take a moment of your time.
The number of times when I think, I guess I've had 11 years now with Turbine, now Standing Stone Games, and I'm really lucky to have had that. And I guess I could say that the number of years where on, say, December 10th of the year before, the plans were solid enough that I would feel comfortable announcing them, have been, somewhat infrequent. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just sort of how long the process is taking. And sometimes, you're busy dealing with the year through the end of the year, because you're actually working through the end of the year, right? And it's not like our development stops and our last update was in September or something like that. You know what I mean? So, a lot of times we're still actively considering and looking at things. So that's just sort of how it goes.
Will you give me a moment of your time, friend?
All right. Sorry. I've had the Yule Festival page up. Let me get that off. Let me get that off. No, not that one. Let me get that one off. Anyway, I'm just going through quests and doing the Yuletide stuff. Sorry about that. I've got probably a million people in chat bothering. Do I upset? I apologize. All right. When are we going to move away from putting best in slot gear in event instances? Well, I don't actually think we do it that much. It may be the case that there is maybe a singular piece of loot or a couple pieces of loot in the Yuletide Festival that are of particular value to people in the instance there. And I guess I don't think that's generally something we do consistently, and so it's probably okay. Clearly you feel otherwise. In general, the best in slot gear comes from raiding, but not always. Or crafting, I guess. It kind of depends, right? But not always. All right. Next question. When can we get rid of all the heritage runes, filling up the vault and bags? Had to buy extra slots for vault just for the runes. Yes. Let me make sure I am on the correct page there. Make sure I got my announcement in front of me. So the reward track is going to be coming with update 31.2. 31.2 is set for early 2022, probably something like January. And that'll be when you'll be able to get rid of all that stuff. We know it's been longer than you would like. Honestly, it's been longer than we would like. But, you can't launch a feature until it's ready. And so it's not quite ready to go yet. So you're still going to have to hang on to that stuff. But that will be coming very soon. Should be in January. I would quick call out that we do have a bit of a mea culpa bonus going on, and that is on a couple of our European game worlds. Where did I see that just now? Here we go. 20% Virtue XP boost. That's going on Belaguer, Guahir, and Siranen. We're enabling the bonus early, so you were able to get that for a while now, since Thursday, December 2nd. That's running through the 19th. And yeah, and everyone else is going to be getting that bonus as well next week. So that'll start on the 16th and then run through the 19th as well. So that'll be a 20% Virtue XP boost in all the worlds, except that Belaguer, Guahir, and Siranen have it on right now. All right. We have got a significant CS backlog right now, unfortunately. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The state of our current CS backlog is not what we would like. We're working as hard as we can on it. We do have people working on it. They are working hard. It was hit by a bunch of sort of staffing and other issues, combined with a significant increase in requests. And they unfortunately do have a pretty significant backlog that they are currently working through. And that's unfortunate, but that is the reality of it right now. So hang on. We'll get to you as soon as we can, and we're doing our best to get to you. What is next for Brawler? Just bug fixes? Or might we start seeing some mechanical adjustments to bring it up to a competitive level? I would expect to see some mechanical adjustments to Brawler within the next... it's going to be part... I would expect that to be part of our 2022 roadmap. And we'll have to be more specific than that when we're in a position to do so. But I would expect to see some Brawler work certainly in 2022 and probably in the relatively near future. I would also expect to see some bug fix work being done. So I think the answer is going to be both in the relatively short term. I do think we still have, a little bit of kind of general DPS to issues to work on. And as you say, just kind of a little bit of wider sort of tweaking to do with the Brawler. And we know we still need to do some of that work. So that is going to be happening, I don't know when. But I would expect it to be, relatively near future. And when we're in a position to hopefully nail it down and give you a better time frame than that, I will do so. All right. So are the old LIs now trash other than cosmetic? Can we trash them for space? Ouch. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable giving that answer. Is the intent, is the plan that a decade from now you would still be using your old pre-change LI item? No. So to that extent, is the days of old LIs done? Yeah, right? Kind of? Yes, right? Kind of? So But the question is not just, maybe should I get rid of my old allies because I've been playing a whole bunch in the last couple of months and I've now got a nice new ally that I prefer. You're saying our old allies trash. That is a powerful statement. I am going to say no. Old allies are probably not still trash. And if you feel like all that work you put into it justifies you hanging on to it, then by all means, I believe you should hang on to it. I have chosen to hang on to mine because, oh my god, why not? So, I'm going to say, in Cordovan Judgment Time, that old allies are not trash, and that, yes, you should hang on to them. Except if you disagree, then you shouldn't feel bad about getting rid of it. And if you would feel bad about getting rid of it, then maybe you shouldn't get rid of it. Is Erebor housing also planned for 31.2? Stay tuned. It might be in for that. But I don't know that I'm ready to commit to that today. I think we're going to have to kind of wait and see. But potentially, yes. Potentially, yes. Is SSG currently hiring for customer service? Let me take a look. I believe the answer is we do not currently have a job posted, as we recently onboarded 2 people? Something like that. But we do have a few open positions. We are looking for a game designer 2 position in Lotro. That's actually kind of exciting for people who might be listening to this who are Lotro players who are like, oh my god, do you have any idea how much I would love to work on the game? Look at that position. Game Designer 2 is not a top tier. It's not a low position. There are no low positions.
What can I do for you?
All right, there we go. Time to head out here in a little bit. Okay, yeah, so there is still plenty of more chat to get to, so I don't want to get too distracted by event work to the point that I'm not answering your questions. Sorry about that. So let me get back to chat. So anyway, yes, we do have a Game Designer 2 position open for Lotro right now, and that's kind of hot. And then we do have... I just saw that. Okay, yes. We are looking for a product manager. That's for SSG side, and same with a project manager for external partners on the SSG side. That's for both games. So we don't currently have any CS positions posted, as we did recently just do some hiring there. And those people are, the CS work tends to be a process that you have to train up for, and so those people have been being trained, and they have been recently starting to do work, and so the number of tickets they can respond to is ramping up. The sort of their speed and accuracy and everything is ramping up, and it's coming together, but we have got a big backlog to go through. So I know that it's going to be a while. When will we receive an update about character customization additions, like hair options, etc.? At one point, Sev had mentioned it in the past. I would also expect to hear more about that in 2022. but I don't have anything I can announce related to that today. I think that, you know, back to briefly looking at some chat following my best in slot comment. I understand what you're saying. I really do. I think, though, it is more of an aberration than the norm, frankly. And I appreciate what you're saying, that you really want to preserve best in slot gear. I'm guessing in your case, you want it to be retained on raids, and you're very angry that it's offered during this instance in an event. I appreciate that. That's some feedback we'll take a look at and try to do better about and serve as many customers as we can. That said, I am also cognizant that we actually don't have that many best in slot items in events that I'm aware of. And so while I appreciate your concern about this one, I think it is more of an exception than the rule. There should be a deed for hitting Cordovan during Yuletide Festival with snowballs. I am down for that deed. That would be kind of fun. Will Brawler taunts be increased? I don't know. But I have heard the concern about Brawler taunts be discussed by members of the team. So I would expect that potentially we would indeed see that. I don't think I've got Styx one here yet, so I think we're down here. When to expect the new raid? 31.23 or 31.3? I would say something like that. Potentially 31.2, potentially 31.3 if it needed the extra time. But I would expect that we'll have more info on that as we get a little bit closer to that. It's, you know, it's still a ways away. But yes, that is the general time frame. I would think 31.2 is a possibility, and 31.3. I don't even know that we have a 31.3, but if we do, you know, something like that might make a lot of sense. Either way, it'll be early-ish part of next year. Someone wanting us to do more work related to skirmish camps? Okay. I am seeing some chat about our change in the help menu UI, where you would like to see the report gold spammer button come back. Hopefully that is something that we could respond to in the future. The reason it went away was because the system it was based on was particularly kind of a crusty old system that was sort of hacked into working with a newer CS system. And we needed to deprecate that old system finally. And so what we're doing, though, as part of really a different plan that we've had for quite some time, is to finally consolidate our CS and solve both some UI issues that players have been having, in addition to, you know, managing our CS under one system that players can track their tickets with, and a few other benefits as well. So this week we went live with our new help system, and it's very much like the old web system of help.standingstonegames.com, which still exists, and that's by design. So we have the knowledge base, which will take you basically here. Contact support will send you right to the submit a request ticket, so you don't have to go help.standingstonegames.com, find an article, any of that kind of thing. You would report harassment from the very first drop-down menu there. Just send in your report there. And then we'll be able to take care of it. It'll go into a harassment, etc. queue. It'll get shuffled through the system and handled by support as quickly as they can. You need to be signed into your help account. Now, we do have a different help account, and I know that's not a particularly popular thing in some parts as well, but by having it's a Zendesk account. So by having your own Zendesk account, you're able to track your ticket activity across our help system. And so that will show up with, my tickets once you've logged in to your Standing Stone Games help account. And then report a bug goes straight to the bug submission request. And this, this window on the Lotro side is scalable, and, will work in a place that a lot of other things have not. People have said for years, I can't submit tickets. I have a hard time submitting tickets. And part of this change is to finally do away with that once and for all. But we also needed to remove the old system that was still managing the one place left that was still using kind of a super old mid-2000s era customer support portal, and that was the spam and harassment section. So we had to get rid of that. Could we add a special spam and harassment category and then add a button to the UI? Potentially. And, given the feedback we've seen over the past couple of days, perhaps it's something we can take a look at here in the future. So we do appreciate your feedback on it. But the intention is that it's still pretty easy to submit a ticket, and it'll get responded to in a much more streamlined system that is more usable and frankly just better for our CS agents and our business. All right. Particularly though, I know people liked the fact that you could report and it would do like an auto-ignore function in a way that the current system does not. That is also something we can take a look at here in the future to add as functionality. Perhaps, if we can. Why not hire CS staff from another country? In fact, we actually do. We do, in fact, actually have French and German
What can I do for you?
customer service agents who are hired to answer French and German customer support tickets. Part of the official language support that we do is support for things like that customer service work. So, This quest always kills me. We're looting. That's what we're doing. Any news about bridals? I have not heard any news about bridals. Sorry. When will crafting get an overhaul? I don't know. Sorry. Select carryalls. The large essence and tracery carryall is not discounted. Why? We are only discounting the crafting carryall for this week's sales. Good opportunity to quick mention that we do have special Yuletide savings going on. Things that are like, say, 75, 50, and 35% off. Special stuff
How can I be of service?
throughout each week in December. And so that'll be going on, through the end of the year. All right. Yes. So related to your question before that, you would also like the report a bug feature to auto-populate better. That is also a feature request that we are hoping to work on in the future. For some of the bug report stuff. I mean, ideally, Lotro's never really had... Has it? No, I don't think so, right? At least the other game hasn't. We don't auto-populate your location, for example, do we? In the old bug reports? I guess I can't remember now. But I thought you still had to copy over a loc /loc, right?
Greetings, friend.
Okay. I will have to look into your question about the crit version of the new crafted instruments being the same as the normal version. I don't know. Have we commented on the, quote, graphics update thing? No, not really. The only real comment I can say is no comment. When we're in a position to let you know more, we will, for sure. Alright, let me pop over to YouTube now. Sorry it's been so long before I get back over to you. Can I do something about the hunter skill Find the Path? Can we increase it like we did with the war leader skill Mobilize? I can copy that over into my notepad of comments. I don't know. I can pass it along. Will there be a German release notes for the last patch? Yes, I did that. I could have sworn I did that earlier this week. We were late. There was a bank holiday of some kind that was like Tuesday and Wednesday of this week in Europe, and so most of the people in Europe had time off, including our translation folks. So we didn't get it. We had like a period where the regular process got disrupted, and so I was late on release notes. But I could have sworn I got those all done. I will double check today. I'm pretty sure I'm clear on release notes going back. But I'll double check on that. Thank you for letting me know. So you say 2 patches ago, huh? I'll have to take a look. Updating our horse mount models. Okay. Where's that something? over here. There we are. I summon thee. All right. Continuing to go through chat. The closed worlds. What can I say about closed worlds? We have had some recent work done on them. What we need to do is basically migrate them to our newer server environment. It kind of happens in fits and starts. There was a time where I thought that was going to be done sooner rather than later, but unfortunately it's just taken a while to be done. It is still though on our radar, and I would expect to see some movement on that in the relatively near future, but I couldn't give you a date because I just don't know yet. Hopefully I will be able to get more info to you, but it's probably not going to be before the end of the year. So all right. Spirit O'Yule. Complete. We got about 5 minutes left. Let's see, what could I do? I can take a couple minutes to look at the items here. That's what I can do. And I have actually not even had an opportunity to go through Facebook chat yet, so let me do that. I'm trying to occasionally stay more focused while I stream, but it comes at the expense of being more immediate with chat, doesn't it? More Yule fireplaces into rewards. Okay. That's something I can pass along as well. More Yuletide fireplaces. Wendy over on Facebook, you are going to need CS assistance if you are stuck on Volume 2 Reforged anew. I believe because your old LI won't advance, you can't reforge and can't get into Moria. You will need to get in touch with CS to get that one fixed. So help.standingstonegames.com or pop the new help menu and contact support through here to get that issue resolved. All right. Cancel the current quest too if you can. Oops. I don't have enough tokens yet to get stuff done. But actually, Deco Doomlu is going to be better than this. But we do have good stuff here. So go check out the stuff online. They got nice pictures. Fibro Jedi's got a nice guide and nice pictures. What can I say? We got some cool things in this year's event. And actually, I do have a list, though, I can call up quickly. Let me do that. Just to have that. Oh, actually, I don't have easy access to it. Or do I? No, I don't. Okay. Let me get back to questions then. When will the Yuletide Festival get, quote, big changes? Big changes, huh?
Could I speak with you a moment?
I don't know. I think the Yuletide Festival is a pretty tight festival, and I'm not sure that we have a lot of interest in completely redoing it. Seems to be going pretty well. I think people generally like it. But as far as adding to it and what have you, I would hope to see that happen sometime in the future. The task boards in the Shire homesteads. That is incomplete work. That is something that snuck into the build that was not intended to be there. So the task board change in the Shire homesteads is going to get polished up and fixed for our next... I don't think next week's release, but the one after that. So that is not actually supposed to look like that. That was work in progress that snuck into live. Thank you so much, Eric, related to your kind words, re Fate of Gundabad. How am I enjoying the festivals? I love Yuletide. I think Yuletide's great, so I'm having a good time. And I think we have just a couple of minutes left. Any more questions? The person in charge of that firework crate at Yuletide is not doing a very good job. Yes. Is the SSG game designer position remote or local? It is mostly local. There are some exceptions that can be made. My understanding, and I am not speaking on behalf of customer or HR or anything like that. I could be wrong here. But my understanding is that you can be in Massachusetts and the states we have compact agreements to share employees with in New England, which I believe is Rhode Island and New Hampshire. I also believe that there may be some accommodation if you lived in a state that Daybreak actually has physical locations in, which would be things like, Texas and California. And maybe some other places. Probably some other places. But so it's a little bit flexible, but the intention is basically this is, although we are all working from home and plan to be working from home for quite a while here, we do have an office, and we do intend to probably go back there someday. And so our positions are not fully remote. But they might be. I mean, for the right candidate, maybe, right? But there are certain restrictions in terms of who we can hire based on state and federal law, I guess. But something like that, right? No, not the bread. All right.
What can I do for you?
Now, I'm not going to have time to let this wear off. I'll have to do this one, well, maybe I'll do it on stream if I can be late, but I don't want to be late to make everyone watch me do this event, so I'll probably just wrap up the show. Alright. I think that is going to do it with Court of the Rings here. Next week's show will probably happen. I would expect to have a show next week. I would not expect to see another show after that until 2022. Probably first or second week in January of 2022. So next week's show will be the last of 2021. And there's a small possibility there won't be a show next week, but not that much. So I'll probably see you here next Friday with a little bit more news, hopefully a newly published producer's letter, and we'll wrap up 2021 in style before we hit 2022. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here, and I hope you have a great time, And you can find the full schedule over on twitch.tv/LocherStream. Tolkien Professor up next. Have fun.